The conflict in Israel and the Gaza Strip shows little sign of abating. Some international airlines have halted flights to Tel Aviv after rockets fired from Gaza landed within a mile of Israel's only international airport. And US President Barack Obama has voiced concern about the rising death toll from 2 weeks of fighting. But is US influence in the Middle East diminishing? Well, joining me now to try to answer that question is our chief foreign affairs commentator, Gideon Rachman. Gideon, US Secretary of State John Kerry has just arrived in the region to try to negotiate a ceasefire. What is America's role, do you think? What is it trying to do?
Well, America traditionally has been the power that tries to come in and sort these things out. And I think that Kerry has always been, really from the moment he stepped into the Secretary of State's office, very, very closely involved with Israel-Palestine. This is obviously a kind of huge setback. The death toll is rising. So I think in the immediate moment, he's just trying to get the shooting to stop, trying to get both sides to calm down and to negotiate a ceasefire. And that's proving very, very difficult because the two sides have incompatible demands and don't appear to be willing to step down. I think if and when he does secure that goal, then I think he may try to revive the peace process that he was giving a good go to before, but which appeared to have kind of run into the desert sands.
And in the US President Barack Obama, we have a president who is much less personally involved in the Middle East than his predecessors. Do you think that's contributing perhaps to a diminishing influence by America in the region?
I think it's an element of it. I mean, I think that when Obama came into office, he kind of made a strategic decision in the aftermath of the Iraq wars and the Afghan wars that American foreign policy was way too focused on the Middle East, which, let's face it, is not the most important economically part of the world, and it's not where the challenges to American power really are going to come. That's going to be from Asia. And so Obama, at least intellectually, wanted to refocus American foreign policy on Asia. But the thing about the Middle East is it keeps throwing up crises. It's thrown up not just this terrible war in Gaza, but also there's been the advance of the militant movement ISIS in Iraq. There's a Syrian civil war, which has cost like 170,000 lives. There's enormous instability in Egypt. So no matter how much Obama would like to spend his time thinking about domestic issues or thinking about Asia, he is forced by events really to look at the Middle East. But you're right, there's a lack of personal involvement, certainly on Israel, Palestine and other issues. Obama, I think, is prepared, perhaps wisely, given how much time this sucks up, to subcontract quite a lot of the actual diplomacy to John Kerry.
And of course, it's not just the Middle East, there's also events in Russia and Ukraine as well. I mean, do you think the US president is in danger of being overtaken by these events?
Sure. I mean, the thing about the White House is it's about crisis management, and they're certainly not short of those at the moment because he has got this confrontation with Russia over Ukraine and the downing of the airline. But also Israel is not an issue that you can ignore, even if in some ways you think strategically it doesn't matter that much. There's the humanitarian aspect, but also Israel-Palestine is a huge domestic issue in the United States because there are groups there that are very preoccupied with it. Congress gets very worked up whenever there's fighting there. So Obama, however much he may think, look, this is a bit of a loser and that I'm not going to get anywhere in the long run, in the big picture of actually solving the issue, I don't think he or his administration can ultimately stay disengaged.
Now, final question. We've talked about Mr. Kerry, of course. He's there in the region at the moment trying to secure a ceasefire. Is there a big division, though, do you think, between the US Secretary of State and the White House about how to deal with the peace process?
Well, I think there has been a division over how active to be. I mean, I think there was very much a sense that when Kerry came in, it was kind of his personal mission, defined by him, to try to make one last push on a two-state solution, which has been this kind of holy grail of American diplomacy for something like 30 years. I have no doubt that the White House was pretty skeptical about whether he could do it, and as a result, they probably said, well, the president's not going to put his fingers all over this and waste a lot of time and come up by failing, but if Kerry wants to do it, fine, let him have a go. And I think that the way things have panned out, you could argue that in some ways that Obama's skepticism has been justified because Kerry did fall short, as many skeptics in the White House thought he would. On the other hand, you could argue that Kerry's argument that this was not something America could neglect, that this was something that would blow up in due course and that couldn't be allowed to fester. Well, arguably, events in Gaza now are justifying that. It's just a terribly difficult issue. It's a tragic situation for the people on the ground, but it's also one in which America really can't win more or less whatever it does.
Gideon Rachman, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.